Welcome to the Fantasy Think. I'm Jared, and it is time for my monthly update for May 2025. And I had a really good reading month in April. Had a lot of cool stuff to read, and so hopefully you can share with me in your reading adventures as well for the month of April. All right, let's start off right off the bat with what I finished in April. I finished Absolution by Jeff Vandermeer. This is the fourth book in the Southern Reach series. It is the we're reading this for the Speculative Speculation podcast. So check that out if you get a chance. We do about 100 pages a week, and so I finished this book for that podcast, and we had a lot of fun reading and talking about this book. It's a book that is only suited for those who have already read the first three, and even then, it's still very strange and weird. Um, but I think we made it through okay, and I think we had a lot of fun talking about it. Not my favorite book in the series, but it was okay. So what also did I finish in April? I also finished Initiate's Trial by Janie Wirtz, and this is the ninth book in the Wars of Light and Shadow mega epic series, and it's the first book in a new story arc called Sword of the Cannon, and it was really a surprisingly new start to this story arc that it it's weird. It throws things off, but it also brings back a lot that's similar and about the world itself as well. And so I'm so excited because of the progress we've made on this big series and our read along at Page Chewing. So I also finished the book that held her heart. This was book 3 in the Library trilogy by Mark Lawrence, and wow, what an awesome ending to this series. I really enjoyed this book a lot. I flew through it so fast because I just couldn't put it down, and this was a wonderful trilogy, a wonderful series. And I've never read Mark Lawrence before, um, so it makes me want to go back and read some of his older stuff. So that just tells you that you don't have to have read his other stuff in order to enjoy this series at all. This is as far as I can tell, it's a standalone. I know people have told me there's hints of things from his other stuff in this book, but I didn't need it. It was wonderful. It was a great ending to a trilogy, and probably one of my top 10 of the year. Yeah, it was that good. All right, so I also finished off as part of our sci-fi masterwork read along on Page Chewing. We finished Star Maker this month by Olaf Stapledon. This was written. It's our second Stapledon book that we read, and this one was written back in 1937, and it was pretty wild. This guy had an incredible imagination, and he basically just goes through this journey through the universe and tells you what's out there in both time and space. So he journeys through time as well, kind of like he kind of telepathically, I guess he pawns it off as, but it's just an excuse to give us a whole bunch of sci-fi ideas about the universe, and it was pretty well done, and it was very interesting. It was very interesting, very um, the prose is pretty dense in here. It's written in a style that's more like a history book than a fiction narrative, but the ideas are brimming in this book, like just out there. And really, the what it seems like, he had all the ideas before anybody else. That's what it feels like when you're reading that book because of how long ago it was written. But we're gonna have a discussion on this book uh, very soon on my channel, and so be on the lookout for that if you've read Star Maker by Olaf Stapleton. All right. Yes, I also finished Truth of Crowns by Kyle Albert, and Kyle's a friend of mine. So I read this as part of my general reading habit to try to get in self-published books at least once a month or so, as much as I can. And so Truth of Crowns, it was my most recent one that I just finished, and I gotta tell you, I had a good time with this book. This is a fun fantasy read. It has all the things we want from modern fantasy. It has a very kind of Game of Thrones type feel to it, and he has political houses, he has betrayal, he has all the stuff. The infusion of magic in there was well explained and well. It really told us you know what this world is about, and so I really like how Carl did the Mr. Albert, Mr. Albert, Mr. Albert did that in this book, and so it was a fun book. I really urge you to check it out if you get a chance. If you're a fantasy fan, you should like this book. Yeah. All right. What else did I think that's it. That's 5 books, for crying out loud. That's enough, right? Okay. So, what is ongoing here? What is ongoing? So, of course, we have all the short stories I'm reading, and yeah. So, I finished this short story in Swords in Dark Magic. As I continue my way through that collection, I only have one more left after this one. So next month will be my last story out of Swords and Dark Magic. So that's pretty cool, right? This month it was a story called Thieves of Daring by Bill Willingham. He of Fables comic book fame, and a lot of other comic books that he's written. So I guess he's also written some prose, but Bill Willingham, as far as what I've read for him before, had been hit or miss. Fables I really liked, but there's some other stuff he'd written that I was kind of like, didn't float my boat. And this story was no exception. This one didn't quite float my boat either. It was about some mercenaries who are working their way through a wizard's palace, and the problem with the story was it didn't really end. It just kind of stopped, like in the middle of something, like it was part of a grander story, in as part like in the first chapter of a novel or something. And this was like when we have a collection of short stories like this, you want a beginning, a middle, and end. You want something that says something, and this one just didn't quite do it for me. I don't like how it just kind of stopped like that, and I felt like it was just an advertisement for another work, and so so that was my disappointment of the month, I guess. And so I also read, of course, another short story out of Tales Before Tolkien: The Roots of Modern Fantasy, edited by Doug Anderson. And the story this month, let's check it out, was The Coming of the Terror by Arthur Machen. And this was interesting because it wasn't really that much of fantasy. It was more the coming of war, basically, and so it was more of a commentary on the war and World War One specifically. Um, and he made some commentaries about. It was pretty interesting because he made some commentaries about how news is disseminated um, during that time, and he's complaining about the uh, the reliance about the printed word, um, that it has become a thing of reverence nowadays, and that the old faculty of disseminating news by word of mouth has become atrophied. And I was very interested in that because of course, look what we have today. So word of mouth. being praised over printed news. That's kind of strange, but it was very interesting to read the viewpoints and stuff like that. And so this the coming of the terror was basically a tale about the animals of the world turning against the people, and even like the domesticated animals, the dogs and the cows and what have you, everything, all those things. And it happens one night on a dark summer night, and it's just really weird and violent how this happens once, and then all of a sudden things go back to normal. But the writing was spectacular. This Andrew Mackin is was a very, his prose was really well done. He had a really good turns of phrases, and a really nice manuscript to read here. So it was it was a interesting tale. It was almost novella length. It was like 30 something pages. um, and the secret of the terror might be condensed into a sentence: the animals had revolted against men. And I just thought that was interesting commentary on the times, the specter of the war and the terror of the war, and what it was all doing to everybody. So, a pretty cool story. So, check it out if you get a chance. So, I also read another tale out of Chinese myths and folk tales. And what did I read this time? I read a nice little 8-page tale here called Miss Yinning or the Laughing Girl. Yingning? I'm not sure how to say that. I apologize if I mispronounce things. Uh, or the Laughing Girl, yes. And so this was a story about a man who's come of age, and it's time he's supposed to settle down and marry, and they're trying to find a match for him. And they got the girl next door who's basically who has this really bad habit of laughing inappropriately in inappropriate places. And so I found that kind of interesting. And it all turns out that she was actually a fox who was transformed into a woman, and that's why she laughed so strangely. But he married her anyways, and they went off and had kids, and one of the kids ended up laughing weird at some point at the end. So it was another another really wacky tale out of these Chinese myths and folk tales from this really cool Barnes and Noble edition. I like it, but I'm really enjoying those. They really have a different take on things. Um, Also read another story out of Reeve the Just and Other Tales by Stephen Donaldson that I have on my had a talk on my channel, the short fiction side hustle with my friends Vasha and Chris and Steve. And so we talked about The Kings of Tashish Shall Bring Gifts by Stephen Donaldson, a wonderful tale um, about dreams and what they do for us, and what people make of them, and how someone's dreams is another person's nightmare, basically, and stuff like that. So it was a really cool story. I highly suggest getting Read the Just and Other Tales. It's one of the best short story collections I've ever read, and so that's a reread for me. Um, yeah, so that's all the side projects I got going on. What am I currently reading right now? I have started um, just recently Fall in Ascent. I hate this cover because you can't read it. You can't read the words. It really bugs me. But it's Fall in Ascent, Individuation in the Malazan Book of the Fallen by Michael Woods, with a foreword by our friend Steven Erickson. And basically, it's Carl Jung's concept of individuation, which helps us understand the journey of life from birth to death, and the psychological growth that ensues across the lifespan through each of life's stages, and how all that relates to the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I've only read the first introduction so far, and I'm going to take it slow with this one. There is a read along of Malazan right now on Page Chewing, and I think I'm just going to um, keep up because the books, each of the 10 books are in their own chapter, and I'm gonna read this until I catch up to that read along, and then just continue on in this book as they continue on in the Book of the Fallen on the read along. Maybe I won't be able to stop myself and just keep reading. Who knows? But this is my first nonfiction read of the year, so I feel a little bad about that. I want to. Well, that's not true. I did read *Sapiens: Graphic History* earlier in the year, so my second nonfiction. All right, so that's good. That's good. Keep up with your nonfiction reading because it expands your horizons and it's very good for you. All right. Uh, I'm let's see, moving on to yes, I have just started uh Destiny's Conflict by Janice Wirtz, of course. Janie Wirtz. This is the book 10 in the Wars of Light and Shadow, and the second book of the Sword of the Canon story arc. And I'm looking forward to it because it's also the end of that story arc, which her endings have so far been my favorite books in the series. So hopefully this is one too. All right. I also have started Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. Hope I got that right. Um, this is a standalone science fiction book by this Nobel Prize winning author. And it has so far been spectacular. We're reading this for speculative speculations, along with the big book of science fiction, where we read short stories out of that. So don't forget about that as well. This has been, yeah. I read the first part, 2 parts, and it was really good. Really engaging, really fun to read, quick read, and I'm in the middle of that right now as well. I am also in the middle of a graphic novel I happened to pick up while down in Florida at ICFA, International Conference for the Fantastic and the Arts, and it's called Box Office Poison by Alex Robinson. I've read about the first. It's a massive, massive tome, like 600 pages or something, and so I'm about 100 pages into that, and it's a really nice slice of life comic book about the struggling artist in New York City in the early 2000s, and so very interesting commentary on life and artwork and comics and all the stuff, writing and stuff that goes into trying to get by, having side jobs, having main jobs, and doing the art on the side. It really, so far, a really in-depth look at that lifestyle, and it feels very personal. So that's always makes for a good story sometimes. All right, so that's what I'm reading, actively reading right now, and yeah, that's all the stuff. That's not all the stuff. I have a question for you guys. If you've made it this far and you'd like to answer it for me, I also read a ton of comics every month, and so if anybody's interested in what I've read for that, check out Weekly Pulls um, podcast on Page Chewing. Um, and but if you're interested in me going over all the comics I read every month on this format, then let me know in the books. I also read magazines. I have a couple of magazine subscriptions, mostly either philosophy. One's a philosophy magazine, Free Inquiry, and the other one is a social magazine about the issues of the day, mostly separation of church and state and stuff like that. So if you're interested in any updates on those things, let me know. I don't usually include those in my for fun fiction reading here, but they can be informative and fun. And so for me, anyways. All right. So let me know about that stuff if you wish to for me to include even more things in my monthly update than I already do. All right, that's enough for today. And so, like I always say, please be good to each other. Let me know what you've been up to, and like and subscribe. And thank you.